Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to another FutureFight Vanguard video. Today we're going to be continuing on with the Infidelity. I keep wanting to say Infidelity, but I know that it's Infinideity. Whatever. Infinideity Cradle set, which is V-BT07. We're going to be doing both the Nubatama and Nova Grappler decks both today. Going to be released today kind of early because I did miss yesterday because I was working on some Let's Plays Anime stuff and I had a stream, which by the way I've been streaming every day on Let's Plays Animes. If you guys want to come check that out, definitely come check that out. I've been streaming every night. So if you go on the channel at any point during the nighttime during this quarantine, I will probably be streaming. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to come on by. But with that being said, let's get right into the video today. But before we do, if you guys haven't already, be sure to leave a like on the video, comment down below letting me know what you thought of the deck, or if you have any tips or tricks for other people, like maybe you play the deck and you want to help out other people with your ideas. After all, the point of this series is to get people to be familiar with the decks and what they do and what they're capable of. Also, be sure to check out our second channel, Let's Plays Animes, as previously mentioned, and be sure to check out the YouTube memberships of this channel as well. If you guys want to support, there are rewards and stuff like that as well if you guys are interested in that. But with that being said, let's get right into the deck. So obviously, like I said, today we're going to be talking about Nubatama, the other ninja clan that is not Murakumo. So this clan focuses really on hand size and like doing things with the hand. Usually they do things to limit your opponent's hand, but also plus your hand and kind of give you resources and stuff like that. They did get a new mechanic in this set, which is the new mechanic of creating tokens. So they create these things called decoy tokens. I'll show you guys one here. So the decoy token card looks like this. It's an evil decoy token. Basically, it cannot be put in the deck. It does not have boost, but it does have intercept. So if you have it up here in the front row, it can intercept. However, it can't attack, so that's not the ideal place that you want it to be. You want it to be in the back row because it has an ability that says it cannot attack, but it can intercept from the back row. So at all times, you want it to be in the back row. It is a 0. It has 0k power, which is important to note because it works well with some cards in the deck that give the tokens power and make them able to boost. So these cards are your boosters, but then also when you get in a tough spot, you're just able to intercept with them. Boom, they go away forever. So let's talk about the main cards in the deck. So we have one of our new grade 3s, or sorry, one of our new grade 3s, because we run 2 new grade 3s in this deck. But one new grade 3 is Evil Stealth Dragon Akatsuki Hanzo. So Hanzo is pretty much like the premier card of this deck, how the whole deck works around its win condition. And let's talk about what Hanzo does to create that situation. So it has an activation skill on Vanguard only. So during the main phase, you can retire 2 grade 0 rear guards, which are usually the evil decoy tokens because they are grade 0. However, you can use triggers to fulfill that cost as well if you're in a really desperate situation to use Hanzo's skill. So you retire 2 grade 0 rear guards. This unit gets plus 20k power until the end of the turn, and then you can choose any number of all rear guards and return them to your hand. And then this is important: if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, your opponent has to choose cards from his or her hand equal to the number of his or her cards returned during with this effect, and they discard them. So what this means is that if an Excel, this is really good against Excel decks, because let's say that an Excel deck fills up their board completely and totally, and they have 2 Excel markers. That means that they have 7 units on the board that are rear guards, and if you bounce all 7 to their hand, they have to discard 7, which if they're not Great Nature and they can't make a field back really easy as the Excel deck, that really cripples them a lot and really hurts them a lot. So they either have to A, get rid of actual shield value in their hand so that they can't block your turn, or B, they have to get rid of all of their units and all of their rear guards. So it's very good. It's decent against Force, against Force and Protect. Jamio Congo is a little bit better because it does limit their hand size, and that sometimes does a lot better than Hanzo. I try to keep their hand as low as possible between their hand and their field, keep them starving as much as possible because that's how this deck gets to its win condition. So next we have 4 Sure Stealth Dragon Jamyo Kongo. Like I was saying before, good against Force and Protect decks. It has a Vanguard ability that says, when placed and at the end of each turn, your opponent chooses 6 cards from his or her hand and discards the rest. And then if your soul is a grade 3, he or she chooses 4 cards instead of 6. So this card basically enforces a quote-unquote Yu-Gi-Oh hand size limit on you. So basically when you play it, it activates, and then also at the end of every turn it activates. So it can just sit there for the rest of the game on Vanguard and just limit your opponent's hand size to 4, and that applies at the end of every turn, even at the end of your opponent's turn. So what that means is that you can get Jamio without being on Jamio, and what I mean by that is at the end of the turn, at the end of your opponent's turn, you make them discard, and then you can ride Hanzo because there's no point to you being on Jamio that turn because you already did Jamio's effect and they didn't plus any in between the end phase of their turn and your draw phase and your ride phase, which is when you would ride Hanzo. So it's really good setup to have this card discard them to 4 and then to ride Hanzo and make them get rid of their board as well, because then they have to have 4 cards to block and then they won't be left with the field at all. So very, very cool to use those cards in combination. Then our last grade 3 in the deck that we run 2 of is we run 2 Sure Stealth Dragon Fuzen Kongo. So Fuzen Kongo is an incredible new card that came out in this set. Let's talk about its ability. So when it attacks on the Vanguard or Rearguard circle, if your damage zone has 5 cards, so if we, the player that is playing this card, have 5 damage, then we can Soul Blast a grade 3, bind any number of cards from our drop zone, and then to the end of the battle, this unit gets plus 5,000 power for each card in your bind zone, and your opponent cannot call Sentinels. So that makes this card super duper big. It's really, really hard for your opponent to block because it's really easy to get this card way up there in power. And also you can just easily choose to like bind your whole drop zone, knowing that whenever you go to use this skill after that, you can still just Soul Blast 1 grade 3, bind the 1 grade 3 that you Soul Blast, and then you could just still have, you know, the power for every card in your bind zone. So this even works well against Narukami because Narukami will be binding your cards. So Fuzen Kongo works off of that and is able to just, you know, bind a bunch of cards and then become like ridiculous numbers like 103k and stuff like that. And since we run 8 crit, like when you stack crits on Fuzen Kongo, it gets really, really scary for your opponent to try to survive. The only downside I will say is that we do have to be at 5 damage. So if we go for stacking trigger effects on Fuzen Kongo, there is a chance that we could check a heal and heal down to 4, and then we can't use Fuzen Kongo's skill that turn, and then our opponent might attack into it or get rid of it or something like that, which messes up our play. But in another way, it also takes the pressure off. Like if your opponent has to use an attack to attack into it, that's worthwhile, like their Vanguard or some really, really big rearguard attack into it, that's really good because that baited your opponent basically into something where you could have lost anyways. Moving on to our grade 2s, we have 4 Stealth Dragon Magatu Gale, obviously a card that's been out, but let's talk about its 2 abilities. The first one is Vanguard Rearguard. When placed, you can counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. You get to draw a card, and this unit gets plus 6,000 power. So amazing Vanguard ride on turn 2 gets you a +1. Also gets plus 6,000 power so that you can attack your Vanguard, or you can attack your opponent's Vanguard, and they have to guard 15k 1 to pass, which is pretty much going to be like a no guard for your opponent if they're smart, I think. Now they could block you with a 20k shield, with a no to pass for the 20k shield, but then they're wasting a 20k shield so early. So either way, you're happy with the result and the outcome, and you got to draw a card and plus off of it anyways. And then the other skill is on Rearguard. At the end of the battle that it attacked, you can put this card into your soul, return one of your other Rearguards to hand. So obviously fills up your soul, but also just allows you to bounce cards to hand that have on-place abilities, stuff like Mugen Oboro and Sakura Fubuki. And you can do things like that over and over and over again. Our next grade 2 in the deck is Evil Stealth Dragon Zangetsu. So Zangetsu actually interacts with our Evil Decoy tokens that we were talking about at the very beginning of the deck. So let's talk about its 2 abilities. So during the main phase, when it's on Vanguard or Rearguard circle, we can choose to counterblast 1 at any point, and we can counterblast 1, we can counterblast 1 at any point, and call an evil decoy token to rearguard. So this creates evil decoy tokens, and then until the end of the turn, all of your tokens on board get the boost ability, and then they get plus 5,000 power. So if you already have 3 decoy tokens on the board on your back row, and you counterblast one with Zangetsu, you do not have to create a new one. However, or you do have to create a new one technically, because it says call an evil decoy token to rearguard, and it does give you a choice. So you have to create a new decoy token. However, there's no, downside to playing a token over a token, and then your back row gets 5k. So that's really, really good because you can just choose. It's not once per turn either. So let's say that you have 3 counterblasts. You can counterblast 3, call 3 decoy tokens, plus 15 the first, or sorry, plus 5, plus 10, plus 15 the third time. So what that means is that if you have 3 decoy tokens that you call out, 1, 2, 3, the first one gets 15 because it was present for all 3 effects. Second one gets 10 because it was present for 2 times that you used the effect and it saw it. And then the last one was present for 1 time, so it gets 5k. But you guys will see that in my playthrough, so it'll be pretty easy to recognize what I'm talking about. Then its other rearguard ability, it says when it's attacked, you may change the attack target to one of your tokens. If you do, return this card to your hand. That makes this card amazing because unless your opponent's playing control, you can always have a way for your opponent to not actually get this card from you from attacking it. Even if a Vanguard attacks it, you can switch the target to the decoy token, which is nothing, and then this card bounces the hand after that, even more further resolving the fact that your opponent won't be able to attack into it at all like that. So very, very good. Then rounding out our grade 2 lineup, we have 2 Stealth Dragon Jiningen. So what this card does is when it's on rearguard and it attacks a Vanguard, if you call 2 or more grade 0s this turn, basically the decoy tokens, this card gets plus 5,000 power until the end of the battle, and then at the end of the battle, you put this card into your soul and you countercharge 1. So good for resource management and also really good for the early game. When we rush with Zangetsu, we use double Zangetsu skill with like a Sakura Fubuki or something, and then we can play Jainin as well. Moving on to our grade 1s, we have 4 Evil Stealth Dragon Kurogiri. Kurogiri also just kind of does the same thing that Zangetsu does, but for a different cost, so it creates decoy tokens. So during your main phase, you can Soul Blast 2 and return this card to your hand, and then you can call up to 2 decoy tokens to the board. So this card calls 2 decoy tokens, not just 1, but it also doesn't give them boost and power like Zangetsu does. So really just use this card when you want to create decoy tokens for Hanzo. Or you want to create decoy tokens for Zangetsu because you're about to use the skill. Moving on to our next grade 1, we have 4 Stealth Rogue of the Night Sakura Fubuki. Sakura Fubuki's skill is on rearguard when it's placed. If you have 3 or more units, you can discard a card from your hand. This unit gets plus 3,000 power until the end of the turn. And then if you have 1 or less face-up cards in your damage zone, you may draw a card and countercharge 1. So really, really good in the early game because we're able to reverse the counterblast used for Magatsu Gale or Zangetsu that we ride. And then we're able to just play whatever grade 2 we have left. And most likely, chances are than not, it's going to be one of our grade 2s that uses an effect that counterblasts and Soul Blast or just counterblast for Zangetsu. So, returning the cost with Sakura Fubuki is just really good in the early game and helps your early rush really, really well as well. Then we have 3 Golden Hook Stealth Rogue Aogita. So what Aogita does is when it's on rearguard and it attacks or boosts, if your opponent has 1 or less rearguard, which usually they will because of Hanzo, then you can put a grade 2 or less from your drop zone into your soul. So this helps you build your soul for all those effects that you need soul blasting for, Fuzen Kongo, Magatsu Gale. You also have Mugen Oboro here, so just helps you build your soul really well. And then also rounding out our grade 1 lineup, we have 2 Stealth Dragon Mugen Oboro. Mugen Oboro says when placed, Soul Blast 1, call a grade 0 from your hand to rearguard circle, and then draw a card. So you might be thinking, oh, this is a minus because, it makes you call a grade 0 to the board. Well, you basically use this card's effect before you would use Hanzo that turn, and then you're able to just retire, the grade 0s and return all these cards to your hand, and then you basically get to return your opponent's cards to hand and have them discard at the same time, but you also plussed because you don't have to, that trigger comes back to your hand if you wanted to. Then for our grade 0s, we have 1 starter Evil Stealth Dragon, I'm not even sure if I should attempt to pronounce this, Ushini Itsurutaru Maru? I don't know. I tried. But basically, this is just our starter that allows us to draw a card when you ride over it. Then we have 8 crit, 4 draw, and 4 heal, being 4 Stealth Dragon Gambaku, 2 Stealth Beast Tobihiko, 2 Stealth Dragon Kurogane, 4 Stealth Beast Mijigakure, and 4 Stealth Fiends Zashiki Hime. So that is it for the deck profile portion of the video. And now we are going to get into the games here. So our, oops, that's going to give us an error. My bad, guys. I wish that, like, the Vanguard app, whenever you type something wrong, instead of, like, giving you, like, an error and making it close the app, like, I wish it was just, like, error, and then just lets you proceed from where you were. Because whenever you have any type of error in Cardfight area, it just says error, and then it closes you out of the whole thing. But anyways, we have game 1. We're playing against Genesis. This is the Genesis deck from this set. So our opponent goes first. Or actually, we go first. Sorry. We ride. Our opponent rides, attacks us 1 damage. We ride Zangetsu. We're able to use the skill of Zangetsu. And we use the skill of Sakura Fubuki to countercharge. And we also play Giant, and we use Zangetsu again to call a token. So we're getting this early rush off really well, as you guys can see. My Giant went into Soul and countercharge, so it's kind of like we did, nothing as far as cost this turn. He attacks us with Phosphorus of Fairlight skill, checks a heal, goes down. We go to 2 damage. He Soul Blast 2 to return that card to his hand, and because he does, we ride Jamikangyo. And then we attack with Aogita, moving a card from Drop Zone to Soul. And we check a heal ourselves, going back down to 1. And then we attack here. Our opponent uses Uranus, and then uses Uranus, and then 3 Atlas, 1 that he drew off of. So he's able to create the Astral Plane, but however, he does not have a Valkyrian that he has access to. So he attacks our Vanguard. We block. He attacks our Vanguard again, checks another heal, and then he attacks our Vanguard for 23. Then for turn, we choose to ride Hanzo. We use Hanzo's skill to make him bounce 2 and discard 2. So you guys can see that he really had to choose what he wanted here, because he wanted to keep that Phosphorus of Dancing Light, so he discarded like actual shield. We called Zangetsu, and we used Zangetsu's skill 3 times. We attack with Hanzo. He checks another heal, and then we attack with Jiangyin. He rides Astro's Dragon here, plays Phosphorus of Dancing Lights. Counterboss 1 for another Force Marker to Vanguard. We no-guard the Vanguard attack, and then he attacks us again. We're thinking here, and we decide to just keep things as we're at. We play Mugen, and we make him bounce and discard 1. So this time he decides to get rid of Phosphorus. We play our Fuzen Kongo. We use Zangetsu's skill to call 3 decoy tokens. We attack for 14. We attack for 42, checking a draw trigger. And then we attack with Fuzen Kongo. Skill gets plus 5k for each card bound. Then he draws Valkyrian, so he's able to Valkyrian top 5 for a grade 3. By this time, though, we're well stacked up on defense, so we're able to just double PG the Assault. So we do double PG as predicted, and then it becomes our turn. Now we ride Hanzo again. And we bounce our cards. We use Sakura Fubuki, and then we call a token. So we attack for 14, attack for 37. And then we bind again and attack again. Our opponent damage checks Valkyrian. So our opponent plays the Deputized Bear, whiffs it the first time, plays Deputized Bear the second time, and gets Valkyrian. He checks top 5 for Valkyrian and puts Astro's Dragon into the drop zone, giving him triple drive. So then he does call Uranus and use its skill to give more force markers. So we PG the Valkyrian attack. He checks 1, checks 2, checks 3, no triggers. And then he attacks with Vanguard, and he checks a draw when he has 1 card in his deck. So he draws that card and is GG before he even gets to attack with 3's rearguard. So our opponent decked out there. That's one of the things that you can do against Force with this deck, is just kind of wall them. If you're not killing them, you can definitely wall them to a death. Second game, we're playing against Royal Paladin. Our opponent goes first. He G-assists for 1, gets it, removes a Monarch Alfred and a Bedivere from the game. We ride our grade 1, and then we use our skill of our grade 1 to draw a card. We also check a draw because we didn't have a grade 2, which is why we did that. So we G-assist, and we got the worst grade 2 that we could possibly ride. We get rid of 2 PGs. Our opponent rides Gancelot and Soul Blast 2. Discards 1 and Soul Blast 1 for Byron. And then attacks us a bunch. We have to take it. We use Hanzo skill to bounce 2. Make him bounce 2, discard 2, and then we call 3 tokens with Zangetsu. We use the skill of Sakura Fubuki, discard 1, draw 1, and we check a heal. Our opponent checks a draw on defense, so we're not able to attack him for that last attack. Our opponent makes a full board, which is kind of like a big mistake because he has to make a full board for the loading angel, but we're able to just take advantage of his mistake very well. Now he does have a lot more cards in his hand now, so we are able to play Jamikango to limit his hand size to 4. We do attack him. He 2 to passes us. We get no triggers, and then he has to intercept. So we 2 to pass the Vanguard. We block the rear guard for a no pass, and then we PG the last Vanguard Vanguard attack with Blaster Blade. He's forced to go back down to 4, which is what I was talking about in the deck profile version, or the deck profile part of the video, is that you can make them go down to 4 during their end phase and then ride Hanzo. So I made him discard 4. So you can clearly see here that we attack him for 37. He has no shield, so when we attack him for that 36, he is forced to no guard it for the death. Because he only has a Gancelot and 2 Blaster Blades in his hand. And as you guys can see, he held onto those Blaster Blades more instead of holding on to actual shield because he thought that the Blaster Blades would help him win the game. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, is like this deck really makes you like think hard about what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. So then game 3, we're playing against Claret Sword, Shadow Paladins. So our opponent rides a PG that draws 1, discards 1, and then plays the main. He no guards. We check a draw trigger. He uses the skill of his grade 2, and now he uses the main again. The main gets Dead Crash Dragon, or a Dead Armor Dragon, sorry. So then he attacks us with Vanguard. We take it, we block the rear guards, and then we do check a heal and defense, going back down to 1. We ride Zangetsu Gale, Zangetsu Gale. We ride Magatsu Gale, draw a card, and we get our early rush off on him. He decides to ride Claret and then goes Force 2. He retires his grade 1 to give 3k to Claret Sword and 3k to Nemain. He attacks us for 15 here. And then he crits us, so we take 3 damage. Our opponent uses the Counterboss 1 to remove 7. And then we just intercept for a 2 to pass, which he can't possibly get. And then we PG. So we ride Jamio. He doesn't have to discard because the hand limit is 6. We do Counterboss 2 to call, and then we have Fuzen Congo on board, so we check double draw trigger, which probably helps us a lot and probably is the eventual reason why we ended up winning this game. So he attacks for 25. We block it. Attacks for 13. We PG it. And attacks us for 32. We PG it. So now we ride Jamio Congo. We call a token. We attack for 14. Our opponent takes it to heal trigger. Then our opponent no to passes. And then we check double crit. We put it all on Fuzen Congo. As you guys can see, we moved a lot of cards from play. And there's no way in, there's no way in hell basically that he could block our attack because it says no sentinels. So first of all, if one of these were a sentinel, he would already not be able to block. But assuming that these are the biggest blocks that he could have, this would be 43, 63, 83, and it still wouldn't be able to block my 97k 3 crit Fuzen Congo. But that has been the games portion of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like on the video, comment down below letting me know your thoughts. Check out our second channel and check out our YouTube memberships as well using the join button down below in the description or next to the channel name. But with that being said, this has been Josh from Cardfight Empire, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace, guys.